Hello everyone and welcome to Southern Utah Interview. I'm Nic Chamberlain. Today we have the great pleasure and honor of being here with the founder of the Utah Shakespearean Festival, Mr. Fred Adams. Mr. Adams, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thanks to you for coming over.
Glad to do it. So Mr. Adams, you have been a fixture in Southern Utah for a long time. What was it, 1961 that the festival began?
Yes, I came to Cedar City to start up a theater program in 1959.
And did it take 2 years to get things going?
It did. It actually took 3 years to get things going. I had to. I first had to meet my future wife, and she was from Seattle. I had come out from New York, so we decided this would be a wonderful place. Southern Utah would be a perfect place to raise our family, to have a family. And since we both had winter jobs, she was with the speech pathology and audiology for the Iron County School District, and I had the winter at the college here. But it meant our summers were free, and we decided we had to do something that would fill up our summers as well.
So you grew up in New York?
No, actually, I had come from New York. I had been out working in New York when I got the job offer.
Okay, so where were you actually born and raised?
Okay, this is a long story made short. I was born in Cedar City.
Okay.
But my parents were passing through. I never lived in Cedar. My parents lived in Parowan at the time, just over the hill, and so I was born. The only hospital in Iron County was in Cedar City, and so here is where I was born. My first years were in Parowan, and then as the Depression really set in, my dad lost his sheep, lost his land. Their home, brand new home, burned down, and I was born. The three major calamities all in 1 year.
Oh, so your parents must have been tough.
I tell you, they put up with an awful lot just having me. But my father, as a result, went back to school. My mother taught, and until I was 6, we lived in Parowan. And then we moved up with my mother's parents up in a little village in southern Nevada called Montpelier, right next to Bear Lake. And I grew up there, a little short stint in Clifton, Idaho, where my mother had a teaching job for a couple of years. And then I spent most of my high school and junior high years in Delta, out on the alkaline desert of Millard County.
Would you consider yourself a Delta Rabbit?
I am a Delta Rabbit.
Okay. So how does a Delta Rabbit become groovy enough to later go on to be an actor in New York City?
Oh well, that was mere happenstance. A lot of things went under the bridge before that. I was at Brigham Young University in theater with a minor in Russian, and I was drafted into the Korean War, and then I was in the Army. My first tour of duty in the Army was in an organization known as NSA, National Security Agency, where we did Russian translation work. Then the last year and a half of my military, I was stationed at the Pentagon, where I was in charge of overseas entertainment for the Eastern Division.
Okay, another question. How does a person go from military intelligence to entertainment?
Well, that's a much longer story. While I was working at NASA, at NSA, I lost my top secret clearance due to an affiliation at the time with a musical called Finian's Rainbow. Don't know if you've ever heard of the musical.
I've only seen the film version with Sean Connery. Never mind. I'm thinking somebody else.
But unbeknownst to us, and it was a military company that was doing the production of Finian's Rainbow. Unbeknownst to us, the authors were members of the American Communist Party, and all of the royalties for Finian's Rainbow were sent directly to what was known as the Daily Worker, a communist newspaper published in New York City.
So do we have Joseph McCarthy to thank for some of this artistic pursuit?
Yes, Senator McCarthy. I was hailed before the House of Un-American Activities Committee and stripped of my top secret clearance. And at that time, because of my theater skills, they reassigned me to the Pentagon.
So they didn't completely take you out of the government,
Oh,
but
no.
they took you out of all of the sensitive things.
They took me out of what would have been considered sensitive materials, and then as soon as I got there, it was discovered that my field was directing and theater, and so I eventually became the supervisor, if you will, of overseas entertainment.
Did that give you any sort of a bad taste in your mouth for the powers that were at that time?
No, because I adored President Eisenhower, and I was there for his inaugural. No, the House of Un-American Activities was a terrible time. It was a terrible time for everybody, a terrible time for our country. And I can still be very proud that it was the Utah senator that stopped it, Senator Wallace Bennett. Senator Bennett, the father of Bob Bennett today,
yeah.
Senator Wallace Bennett is the one who stood up in the well of the Senate and said, "Senator McCarthy, have you no shame?" And started that downward spiral of the McCarthy hearings. And so I've always had a warm spot in my heart for the Bennett family because of that. It was really quite something. But after I got out of the Army, I finished my degree at Brigham Young, went on a 3-year mission for the LDS Church to Finland. Somehow they seemed to think that maybe my Russian would help in Finland. Completely off the wall thinking, because there's no relationship in the languages. But had a wonderful experience there. Came back and worked in graduate school for a while, and went out to New York and worked at the Hill Cumorah pageant. Went from there into New York City, where I landed a job with a Broadway musical as a swing dancer.
What musical was it?
Can Can.
Can Can.
Mm-hmm.
And,
worked with Jerome Robbins.
okay, and was that the only musical that you did on Broadway?
Yes, yeah.